it's Lupins and Miniature Painting Coach, and welcome to my own personal improvement vlog. Me painting to solve my own inexperiences with specific colors and stuff like that. So you can see there's a mirror here that I have. I'll show you guys a real quick trick of what I do. So I'm at the detailing stage, and sometimes I just want to make sure that things are proportionate. And one by proportionate are we have all these contrasts going on in our miniature due to different colors. Like we have a green jumping to like a blue or a magenta, and then we have the skin color over here. And so while we're kind of like defining all of these different shapes and colors on the miniature, especially since we wet blended everything, we want to make sure to keep things making sense. And what I mean by that is sometimes you have moments where if you look into a mirror and then you look at a photograph of yourself which isn't like a mirror, it's just kind of flipped, you don't recognize yourself. And what I mean by that is essentially if you take your miniature and hold it up through any mirror like I do over here, it will seem like it's a whole nother miniature. So I just need to clean this, wipe this on my trousers just real quick. Actually, I'll spray it. There we go. And then I'll clean it on my trousers, and we'll just kind of have this, oh look, it's me. So I take the miniature, and then I just kind of hold it up the mirror like this so that I can kind of see how it actually looks like. So and the reason why I do this is because I want to actually have a good grasp about how my miniature looks like. So let's just kind of zoom in real quick, and then let's just kind of do this. All right, so we have a light here at the top. So this is our light, and then we kind of just have our miniature look at it like this. And then we want to be able to see our miniature in a proper way. That's actually the blue is coming from my shirt. So let's just kind of be able to view it in this way and then kind of go closer. So we can see that our miniature looks okay. Like it doesn't look weird, it doesn't look improper or anything. Let's just kind of take out light and then shine it a little bit more towards. I'm just adjusting the light that I have above this miniature. And we can see that, let's hold this miniature and turn it. Is there anything improper? No. So when you flip your miniature around, you can see that because of the angles and how the posture and everything has been kind of flipped, you will be able to spot and notice a lot more inconsistencies a little bit better. In my case, I'm trying to check the lighting, I'm trying to check the overall, and I'm trying to look for things that bugs me in particular, especially to do with the colors down here. And I can see that the colors here actually makes a lot of sense. It works really well. It doesn't have any problems. Let's just kind of flip it down like this and just kind of read it in that way. Yeah, it looks really well. The hair actually looks pretty close to how we want it. The face is a little bit blue, so I'm just gonna zoom it a little bit closer so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So if you look at towards where her neck is, if you look up towards where her neck is, let's just kind of position this right. Okay, her neck and her jaw, that area is a little bit too blue and it should be more warm because it's bouncing off the surface of the skin. So because if I didn't do this, my brain would just kind of conform to the way things already look like in my head, and so my memory will actually play a fool with the way I'm looking at my own miniature, and won't tell me exactly what's wrong with my miniature and then how am I supposed to improve it. So let's just zoom out a little bit again and just kind of look for any other imperfections that we might see. So we're really just kind of having our miniature just kind of look at this as if it was a mirror, and then be able to see what the problems are. Let's see if there's anything else. The back, because the back is actually going to tell me a lot more about the problems that we're facing. So let's just kind of bring our mirror closer. There we go. And then we're just going to look at it throughout. So the grays actually look really proper. I mean, it's a mess because of the sculpt and everything like that, and we're going to smooth that out later once we go through several layers of like matte varnish. But essentially the darks really look dark, and it actually looks pretty proper. Now we also can see that the shadows for the most part are pretty accurate, especially from this end and from this end where the light is shining. So we don't really have too much of a big deal with this miniature kind of looking awkward or anything like that. And that's actually how I do the test. Now, so this mirror test is actually a pretty good test for even if you're doing 2D drawing or you're doing freehanding. So let me give you guys a really quick example. Say So I have a banner here which I painted a few months back, and I'm not done with this banner, and I actually don't like bits and pieces of this banner. And I was like trying to figure out, why does it look weird? What's wrong with this banner? And it's like, I mean, sure, it's illustrative and it's fine like that, but if I look it through the mirror and I test it out this way, I'm like, oh, that skull on the left, its right side, which is now on the left, looks like it's kind of like flattened out because of that orange thing that's kind of sprued out over to on this side. So we can see over here that the width of the skull is not proportionate, and so this means that I'll probably have to redo this banner. And so let's just kind of accept that failure and just kind of move on. And so in a 2D drawing, especially when you're freehanding or you're illustrating, this sort of stuff matters a lot. So if I want to take a look at the patterns, for example, on her chest, I can kind of do that as well. Kind of take a look at it. Are the sizes of each triangle like okay? Because I see that there's a stretch on the white, but that's no big deal. So we can just kind of move this mirror aside and just kind of move on. Now, okay, we can finally get back to painting. And remember, we were just going to work on the details, and I would actually like to get the bust mostly done. So we're just gonna kind of move over the light in such a way so I have several lights around me that let's just make sure we have working on the clean space. And so we can see what part of this miniature doesn't actually look accurate at all, and we can see that there's a bit of a satin underneath here, and there's a bit of cat fur stuck to her boob for some reason. Just go ahead and remove it. There we go. Okay, so let's just go ahead and clean up this part because it's really messy underneath the shadows, and just kind of get that shape going on. So let's just start with this. We have it just we need it to be a little bit more thinned out, so we just go ahead and put it at the side here, and then let's just redo that. Take a little bit here, just a teeny little bit, and we'll kind of stipple it because we want to blend in the highlight later on. So we just kind of note it like this really softly. Alright, until we get the lighting that we want. Just a little bit at a time, not too hard, too soft. Okay, just take a little bit more over here. Add that fold. You want to make sure that it's sharper. So just make it at the edge, just bring it a little bit more in. Okay. Do a little bit more of that. And at this point, it's actually alright for us to make the shirt, her dress, the top part of the dress, a little bit transparent, which is what I plan and intend to do. So what we'll do here is that we'll use the colors underneath to kind of help us figure that one out. So we'll put this teal over here, just 2 blobs of it like that, and then we want to make sure we get our water, and we go and surround that. And the reason why we're using a teal is because we can use that teal to contrast that skin tone later on. So we're just going at it like this, and we also want to bind that skin tone to whatever is underneath the dress. That's way too much. Let's just wick our brush a little bit and unify the shadows at the bottom here in a stipling manner, because we don't need it to be too harsh, just need it pretty soft. And then we also want to unify our darks. So we just kind of take our indigo or violet and just kind of going it underneath here as well. So notice how I'm kind of fulfilling that space now. This is the part where I get to freehand and work on details and really just get the miniature together at this point. Going in between here, paint this shadow, and I do want to bind all of that together. So we will won't take a green, actually we'll take this teal, right, and then we'll move it here like so. So wash our brush, take our green, and then add it in more like so. Let's clean our brush again, and then we'll take this teal and then add just a little bit here. Take our green like so, and then we'll just kind of plop on just a little bit of our skin color. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and now that we have a little bit more opaque of a paint to work with, let's just take more skin color over here, mix it together. Now, what kind of a color do we have here? Let's see. So we have a little bit of a, let's see if it's okay, right? So it's not completely green, it's not completely teal, and we place on, it will help unify the colors in here really slowly but surely. Let's go ahead again. As you can see, it's a bit of a dirty green and a dirty teal. I'm just placing it down here to kind of unify everything. We're keeping it going like so into the darks. We want to place more of it on the top. Okay, you can see that teal kind of showing through. We can just go ahead and take this yellow a bit, so, and then we teal it out. We just kind of add it on the top to let it kind of like shape over the light like so. We take a little bit more, shape over the light again. Notice how it's kind of conforming and coming together. We're really using the best use of our indigo that we've kind of mixed, even though it seems like it's just a bit, to kind of really pull out the shadows on this miniature. So over here as well, we just kind of paint freehand some shadows. Whoops. Like this. Right? Over in here. And we can see that there's a small little annotation of a crease. Highlight that just a little bit more. Okay, on both sides. Make her body seem wrappable, wrapped up by that clothing. And then we want to go towards the top again. And then we want to make sure we add just a little bit more tint into this, and we want to add that on the top here, just enough. Stroke it down like so. Okay, now we want to make sure we add more of that shadow, the indigo I have here, and then we want to place it down in here. And we can actually treat ourselves with a little bit of primary cyan that's saturated and place it in here. And see how it immediately actually creates that line, which we can now we use to feather it just a little bit downwards and upwards to create this line in between our sleeve that looks like a section in between. And then we can go ahead and take a little bit of our red that we've mixed onto here, just kind of put it at the top into the left side of this primary cyan. We get this nice looking little line that we've created that's not really of any color. It doesn't look like black, it looks like a gray. And then later on we just kind of like ease up the bottom area, right? So now what about this area with her boob? So let's just highlight that boob a little bit. I was like elongated that pronunciation there, so kind of weird, but let's just kind of make it a little bit more fair. like so, because it's kind of attached to a skin, this part of the clothing, and it requires a little bit more translucency. Not too translucent, just enough. And then we're going to go ahead and take this white that we have earlier and just kind of thin it out at the edge, and really just kind of add a top part over here to make it shine just a teeny little bit. Okay, and then we will let it fall off in the bottom here as well, so then we just kind of create that reflection underneath. It's going to be really soft, and then we're going to add just a nip of skin color, okay, the bottom here and towards the middle of the clothing. We're just gonna dab it a little bit dry, not really tinned, and then we're going to take our water and just kind of tap it out a little bit, just a little bit. And the reason why we're doing it in this way is because we want to stipple the skin and blend it with the rest of the model just really softly. Okay, now on this side we also have to create a nice little skin tone. So we just kind of take it, and then and this is me because I've seen enough anatomy kind of hugged by cloth, so which is the reason why paying attention and doing your work, your homework by running immersion exercises to really understand what you're painting is really important. And that is again something that I cover up in the coaching course that I have, and it's generally something that I do on a basis, which is to do the right kind of pictorial research to really understand what you're painting. And then I'm going to take this indigo that I have, just kind of go with it to create a border in between here. Go with it really softly. Alright, to kind of create a line in between the pattern of her clothing. Let's go with it really softly, it doesn't need to be thick at all. That way, whoops. Good thing I didn't accidentally swash over my miniature. But oops, there we go. So let's say if you do a mistake like this, and what do? You take a brush, just kind of go over it. No big whoop. Simple. And to get that white back, just take a bit of white. Tap it at the edge. Simple. Okay. So now I have a small little difference. And then now I can go ahead and add just a little bit of that green over here towards this side of the miniature to create a bit of a contrast between the top part, her face, and the bottom, just to get just a little bit. And then after that I can add just this yellow, just a teeny little bit over to this part, because it's going to be reflected and shined upon by the light anyways. Okay, and then I can go ahead and take back this thing, this kind of green that I've already painted over here. Just kind of go around the enveloping of her skin really softly. Really softly. Okay. Now, and of course we want to make sure we get it in the right lighting, so we'll do stipple a little bit of this yellow again. Like so. and ease it towards that collar. Okay, over here as well. So you get that nice little translucency on her boob. Maybe a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Staple that in. Underneath here as well. To create this kind of little shape. Alright. So what happens is when and we need to clean this up a little bit because it's a little bit messy. And of course you want to make sure to tell the difference, make a contrast, or make a line in between here. There we go. So when we zoom out, we can see kind of like that her clothing is enveloping her body. And we do want to make sure that we create a bit more subtlety, because now that contrast on her body is a little bit too much. We can take this and tint down this like so, and we just kind of go at it in little small pieces. Make sure we highlight this part so there's a difference. Right, so we can see that there's the skin is showing through just a teeny little bit. And let's just make sure to add the shape of her side cleavage, just a teeny little bit. And now we also want to make sure we do that for the bottom, because while we have already done that at the top, we need to make sure to maintain the consistency. We pretty much do the same thing at the bottom. Go ahead and take this green. It's kind of teal. Oops, too much, way too much. Going at the bottom like so, to kind of make it a little bit more teal on the teal side. Wet it a little bit more to activate the paint, and then go at the shadows so that we can blend the shadows and that curve in. And we want to remove just a little bit of it so we can blend it out. There we go. Just made a nice smooth blend. Okay, and then we also want to make sure we get just a little bit in the middle here, just a teeny bit, not too much. We can always redraw that magenta on the top. Actually, we'll take it as pink. Oops, there's too much white in that pink. Take it like so, take a little bit more. And then we'll pop it into this, deposit it in this area, so that we can have a nice little difference between the colors. Then we can darken it just a teeny little bit by just adding it just a bit, like so. Let's darken that a little bit more. And this is just us taking our time, making sure everything is nice. Okay, now let's just kind of zoom in here and just kind of check those colors out a little bit. So we know that this part is just a little bit too dense, a change in color. So just take just a teeny little bit, just mark it like that, mark it. Okay, nothing too bright, nothing too dark, just gonna mark it like so. Okay, take a little bit of a green, mark in between. There we go. And now, because we want to really sell that her boob there, because it's going to lead our eyes to the collar. That's actually pretty important. So we will just kind of draw it in this way, onwards and upwards. Just kind of show that there's a hugging of sorts in her clothing. Notice how I'm actually sketching it. And here. Now this part the most, because it should really hug her skin. Making my brush just a little bit wet. Adding more of it. Especially on the area here, where it's going to be the most. Okay, just a little bit more. There we go. Should be the part that's the most kind of revealed. And then we're going to add just a little bit more in the surrounding area. Thin the paint, it's too much. Okay. And then we're going to take our indigo and wrap that up. Okay, so we can see that there's a difference to it. Can make sure that we wrap the areas underneath here with more of the indigo. Okay, underneath here especially. A bit here. Just a bit. And we're also going to take a bit of the indigo. We're going to thin it down like so. Check on our paper, wick it a little bit, see if the consistency is right. And then we're going to actually draw some creases at the top here to kind of define more of that transition from her breast area to kind of pop it out a little bit. Okay, and then of course we are going to simmer it down a little, just a little, and coming in from the top. Oops, that's way too much paint. This would be a bit less. My cat woke up. Like so. This is how we're just kind of taking our time, just kind of making sure the colors we get are correct. Take a little bit of this green, and we need to get back the green now. My cat's calling me. Just a little bit more green. There we go. We can just kind of unite that green just a little bit. Over here, just to take a little bit. Unite it from the side over here, kind of blend it. And then we'll kind of glaze on our skin tone again. Oops, need a lot less. Get underneath in the shadows, the side, a bit towards the edge here. Kind of give an idea about the contortion of a muscle. We can see we have something that is much more accurate to how a skin will have hug in the body. Now it's definitely on a little bit on the heavy side, so we'll go ahead and kind of tone it down just a teeny little bit, like this. Blend out like this. See how we actually got most of it? Pretty simple. Now we gotta make sure we even out this portion over here. We of course go back to our this color. We get it to the bottom here. Right? You see maybe we got a bit too much. So we take this a bit. Make this color stand out over here a little bit. And we're just gonna have that blend into the skin by feathering out just a small bit. Okay, and we're just gonna leave that be first. So if you look at it out from afar, we can see that her body is being hugged by the clothing that she has. So it's being stretched out a little bit and really like contorting her feminine figure, which is what we want. Now let's just kind of stop this video here. Again, guys, thank you for watching, and be sure to learn from others to discover more of yourself. Alright, so toodaloo.